Good morning, I'm Angelo Castro III.
I'm Angela, and we are the Castros.
We bring you the news.
And the views that make you think.
Sometimes we agree.
Sometimes we don't.
This is News and Views.
And here are today's headlines. Vice President Sara Duterte won't be a part of former President Rodrigo Duterte's legal team at the ICC. Former presidential spokesperson Harry Roque said the VP is only seeking to be listed as legal counsel so that she can be closer to Duterte and not to represent her father at the ICC trial. Roque explained that this would give her access to Digong as every visit requires communication with the detention facility. Meanwhile, Roque confirmed that he would apply for asylum in the Netherlands. This way, he said he would be able to join Duterte's legal team and defend him against crimes against humanity charges at the ICC. Roque faces an arrest order for skipping a house inquiry on pogos and charges for alleged human trafficking.
Malacanang hits back at Davao City Mayor Baste Duterte for denouncing President Bongbong Marcos over the arrest of former President Rodrigo Duterte. Palace Press Officer Under Secretary Claire Castro said the implementation of the law should not be stopped by a debt of gratitude. She explained that it's not proper to no longer enforce the law just because the person is your friend.
Hindi po dapat na dahil lang kaibigan o dahil naging kasama, hindi na po tutuparin ang batas at tatraidorin na po ang konstitusyon dahil lamang sa utang na loob.
Over the weekend, Baste criticized Marcos for allowing his father to be arrested, even after the latter allowed the president's late father to be buried at the libingan ng mga bayani.
Utang kabubuton, ang imong amahan, di malubong sa akong amahan, o akong amahan, di papreso nimo.
Yun. And at some point kasi sumisigaw yung mga tao ng in Bisaya term hindi ko kasi masyado alam, parang hukayin, something like that. Pero sinabi naman niya parang parang wag ganon, something like that. At the time during the parade araw ng Davao, talagang naging parang rally yung nangyari kasi nung nagsalita siya. And also aside from that, Senator Bongo also talked during the rally. And yun nga, nag-a-appeal siya dun sa mga politicians na wag niyong kalimutan, 'di ba, na nung time na pinansin kayo, minahal kayo ni Tatay Digong, yun siyang kalimutan.
Sabi nga nila sabi nga sa Art of War only a fool would believe a promise made in the heat of battle. Kumbaga tsaka I remember nung nilibing si the late President former si Ferdinand Marcos, the father of BBM. I remember the speech of then President Duterte kasi nagrarally ang dami nagagalit. And President Duterte at the time said, ginagawa ko to parang hindi dahil sinabihan ako or walang humingi ng tulong. It's just because may technicality na a former president
should be there.
Who's not convicted naman kasi walang conviction si Ford should be buried there. Walang umaano ngayon. Ang narrative ng Duterte camp is saying, dapat may utang na loob ka. When the father mismo said, wala naman nagsabi gawin ko to So it's very conflicting sa in thought process kung paano ito. So well, it was heated of course in Davao. It's expected. Balwarte ni Digong yan.
Yeah.
It's expected naman.
So I was there nga 'di ba over the weekend, and I witnessed nga talaga yung mga alam mo na yung chant ng mga tao, talagang yung actually prior to the mismong event, parang few days leading to the event, makikita mo, medyo gloomy yung atmosphere. And I asked some of the locals there, I said, ganito ba talaga kapag araw ng Davao? Sabi, usually daw, very busy na yung mga tao and preparations, but ngayon kasi medyo parang walang ganang mag-celebrate. Alright, in other news, or in the same news as well, some groups gathered outside the International Criminal Court to give voice to the victims of extrajudicial killings during the administration of former President Rodrigo Duterte. In a candle lighting and prayer vigil held last night, human rights advocates read the names of those who perished during the drug war and are still seeking for justice. Most prominent of these cases is Kian De Los Santos.
Pinaglalaban po namin ngayon dito ang hustisya para naalala po ng mga Pilipino na hindi po ito tungkol sa mga tao, hindi ito tungkol sa mga personality politics na tinatawag nila, kundi tungkol sa mga taong namatay noong Duterte administration. Laban nila yun eh. Trinay nilang ilaban sa pulis na sabihin na hindi po ito mga adik, hindi po ito, lalo na yung mga bata, hindi po sila kasama sa war on drugs. Mga inosenteng tao po ito. Pero wala pong nakinig sa kanilang mga kwento. Tingin po nila pagdating sa hustisya sa Pilipinas na walang mararating yung mga kaso nila. Kaya nung malaman nila na nakarating na sa ICC at nung nangyari yung pagdating ng Interpol sa Pilipinas nung Wednesday, medyo nagkaroon sila ng konting tuwa na may nakarinig na mga hinaing namin.
Fired at her and her father.
Patricia Enriquez, who has been living in the Netherlands for about 9 years now, is a community organizer, social worker, and student in the Netherlands. She represents Gabriela in Holland. Enriquez says that while she understands the pro-Duterte supporters, that does not invalidate the existence of deaths due to the drug war.
Marami talaga ang mga supporters. Naiintindihan naman po namin bakit po sila naniniwala kay Pangulong Duterte at nung panahon ng administrasyon niya, kung nakaramdam po sila ng ginhawa ng buhay, hindi naman po namin inaalis sa kanila yon na nagkaroon po sila, sabi nilang they felt safe, yan po yung mga sinasabi nila. Pero hindi naman po yun yung pinag-uusapan. Ang pinag-uusapan po dito ay yung mga namatay. So magkaibang issue po yun. So yun po yung gusto namin ipalabas. Naiintindihan namin na maganda buhay niyo noon, sige, pero ibang usapan po yung mga namatay, yung mga bata, yung mga civilian na namatay. So, kahit mukhang marami sila, meron at meron naninindigan para sa hustisya dito. At all over the world, marami ng protestang dahan-dahan na nag-oorganisa para paglaban ng human rights at hustisya.
Menandro Abanes, who teaches sociology in the Netherlands and is a member of Filipinos Against Corruption and Tyranny, recalls his experience meeting the mom of a victim of extrajudicial killings.
Si Aldrin Castillo, yeah.
Ano po kwento niya?
Siya ay anak ni Ma'am Nenet. At siya ay naging biktima. At nasa labas siya. At yun, binaril dahil suspected nga sa droga.
Taga saan po si Aldrin?
Taga Tondo. Ang kwento niya ay kwento sa akin ng kanyang nanay. No? Kasi yung nanay niya pumunta dito. At nakilala ko ang nanay at hinagpis ng isang nanay. Isa siya sa mga nag-file ng kaso dyan sa ICC. Noong 2017, pumunta sila dito. At para patunayan sa ICC na mayroong ang totoong mga biktima.
Even if it saddens him that the former president needs to be taken to the International Criminal Court, Menandro thinks this is the only way to obtain real justice.
Bilang Pilipino, likas sa atin maawain, forgiving, pinalaki tayo sa Katolikong pamamaraan, yung makapagpatawad, sabi nga, pag sinampal ka, ibigay mo pa yung isa. Pero pagka sa akin, habang tinitingnan ko si Digong, habang sinasabi niya, mga sinasabi niya sa media na handa niyang harapin to, kasi ginawa niya ito, dapat daw gawin to, wala akong nakikitang remorse. Wala akong nakikitang yung bang pagsisisi. So I think ito ang paraan na humarap siya sa isang trial para kahit paano siguro mapang-isip niya kung anong mga ginawa niya at may konsekwensya sa anumang ginawa mo dito sa mundo. Walang kapayapaan pag walang hustisya.
To share his insights about the latest development in The Hague, where former President Rodrigo Duterte is currently detained, we have former IBP President Attorney Domingo Cayosa. Attorney, thank you for joining us again.
Good morning. Magandang umaga sa nakikinig at panonood sa inyong programa.
Yes, Attorney. Yung latest developments is September pa ang next hearing ng Duterte camp, no? What can they do in the meantime?
We have to clarify that yung setting ng September 23, before that, there will be many things that will be done, preparatory. So, the evidence of the prosecution will be provided to the accused and his counsel so that they can prepare for their answer and for their plea. So marami yung gagawin. Yung formal hearing, that's why medyo mahaba-haba yun, to give the prosecution and the defense time to go over the evidence and prepare very well for the defense. So, yung sinasabi ng iba that there is a due delay, that's not exactly accurate. Because even before that setting, they'll be very busy. One, accrediting the counsels, the defense counsels, and it's good they already have a number of them. They will have to receive the copies of the evidence in the hands of the prosecution. So, you know, in that jurisdiction, in many other jurisdictions, ganun, very transparent. You have to show the other side, hindi yung masusurprise na lang sila that they can prepare. That is the advantage. At least we see and we are assured that due process and fairness will be observed.
So parang in simple terms, attorney, is that this would give them ample time, no, to prepare for the case.
Yes, of course, because the court would not have issued the warrant of arrest if they were not convinced with the available evidence and witnesses that a crime has been committed and that President Duterte is possibly probably guilty as indirect participant or implementer of the drug war or the EJK killing. So, ngayon, chance naman ng accused to see that evidence that they can double-check kung sino-sino mga yan. Perhaps as the trial will proceed before pre-trial, there might be others na maghahabol given encouraged by the development, by the arrest nung kinakatakutan nila noon. Maaari yun, but still the prosecution is also compelled to, you know, submit this on time for the review and examination of the defense.
Yeah, attorney, can you give us an can you clarify this to us na while waiting for the September 23 confirmation of charges, pwede rin po bang magkaroon ng freezing of assets of the accused?
Well, that at this point, premature yan. It would be only after there's a confirmation of charges. Because if you look at the complaint, they allege other things aside from murder. They allege rape and torture. Initially, for purposes of issuing the warrant of arrest, the court considered murder, and they did not see enough proof or supporting evidence to establish that there is widespread omission of rape or torture against the victim or their families. But then, that's not to say that will not be considered in the confirmation of charges, because they have more evidence, they'll have to submit that. It's also possible that during the confirmation of charges, they will just stick to murder. Hindi na yung torture and rape.
Pero attorney, in the meantime, yung the question of the interim release, can this be applied before September or kailangan hintayin pa po ang September?
Yeah, it will be September. That will be when the different merits of the case would be tackled. No? Of course, they can file all the pleadings that they want. As a matter of fact, even before the first appearance, first hearing, the counsel of the president, the former president, already filed a number of motions.
That's right.
But unfortunately for them, these were disregarded by the court, and the court said in one or 2 points, they already addressed these concerns.
Okay. Attorney, I'd like to get your comment also. No? Well, the Duterte camp named the British-Israeli lawyer, Attorney Kaufman, as lead counsel. Now, what is your pagkakaalam nyo about Attorney Kaufman? Do you think this is a good move with regards to his case?
Well, I think that would be a wise move Of course, it is true that you engage counsels of your utmost trust and confidence, and that's why I suppose Attorney Mijaldia and Attorney Harry Roque are there. No, she has been working with them while he was president. But the procedure in the ICC has some peculiarities.
Yes.
And it would be wise to get somebody who is very conversant or perhaps an expert in those procedures. Somebody who has a track record and who knows exactly what he's doing. Somebody who may not be swayed by what's happening in our country, the demonstrations, the fake news, the legitimate news, and all kinds of expressions in our country. So it's good to get that. Very expensive ito. If you look at his credentials, impressive, but it comes with a hefty price. I suppose President Duterte can afford that.
But speaking of his legal counsel, isa po sa mga, napapangalan po na makakasama dyan ay si Attorney Harry Roque, which yesterday he said that he will be filing or seeking asylum in the Netherlands. Your reaction to this po?
Well, I wish him well. He's a friend and a fellow lawyer, but if that is his option. But asylum is not a matter of right. You have to convince the country from whom you are seeking an asylum that you are qualified to seek asylum. In Netherlands and in many European countries, many developed countries, they have very similar requirements. And very limited yung grounds. One is that you have a well-founded fear of persecution in your own country. The other one is that you have a well-founded fear of death, torture, or inhumane treatment as a prisoner or as a convict. Wala naman yan dito sa ating bansa kasi bawal na, wala nang death penalty sa atin. Our Constitution prohibits torture and inhumane treatment for prisoners. Yung persecution because of your race, religion, or political beliefs. So I don't know how this criminal case would have aspects of race, religion, or political beliefs.
Yes.
Kasi obviously naman, this is a free country. Different political sides argue and clash intermittently, but wala namang persecution. The third one is you have a well-rounded fear of random assault because of an ongoing war in your country. Wala namang war sa Pilipinas. So I don't know how he could convince the Netherlands authorities to accept him as to grant him asylum in Netherlands. He has very organized naman yung i-interview siya, mag-appeal siya, he will apply for, submit documents with evidence that Netherlands government will check kung totoo hindi yung sinasabi niya doon. And if ever he is denied asylum through the administrative process, he can go to the courts of Netherlands and appeal the denial. But otherwise, that's about it. If they say you're not entitled to, you will be barred from entering the country and you will be sent back to your country of origin or to any other country who's willing to take you in.
Okay. Attorney, I'd like to ask a question kasi so many debates have been happening. We've been talking about procedures, yung legality of the rest, but a lot of people have yet to understand the nature of the charges against former President Duterte, crimes against humanity and murder. Siyempre, not all of us are as enlightened as you are kasi hindi namin alam masyado yung ins and outs of law. But ano po directly when you mean crimes against humanity and murder? Because ang daming nagsasabing supporter, hindi naman daw si Tatay Digong ang nag-pull ng trigger. Pwede bang naging negligent lang yung president during a flawed policy that led to the deaths of plenty victims? Is that could you explain to us, Attorney?
Well, it's good that you ask that question and that question. And it's very helpful that mainstream media and hopefully mga vloggers, but yung vloggers kasi talagang partisano sila eh. At maraming fake news.
That's right.
But you in the legitimate and mainstream media should help educate our people so that there's more calm. And they allow due process. Ang ibig ko sabihin ng the charge is crimes against humanity by widespread murder. Kasi yung crimes against humanity is widespread attack against the civilian population. How is this attack conducted? By killing suspects. Sino yung civilian population? Yung mga suspects na dirigista o kaya yung mga pushers. And is it widespread? The prosecution or the complainants come from different provinces of this country. So there's a systematic attack. Kasi nga yung, there was a drug war declared, there was Operation Tokhang, Operation Double Barrel, there were numerous pronouncements, public pronouncements by the President. So yun ang naging base. It's not, the charge, yung liwanag natin, is not murder. Because if it's just simple murder, ICC will not take cognizance of it. It will be tried in our regular courts. But this is crimes against humanity. So maramihang murders na attack on, systematic attack on civilian population. So yun, at by indirect participation. So malinaw na hindi sinasabing siya ang pumatay. Ang sinasabi lang, siya ang may pakana. Dito, programa niya ito, in-encourage niya ito, sinabi niyang binuyo niya na bigyan niyo sila ng baril para pag lumaban, patayin niyo na sila. Pag kayo pinasuhan, sagot ko kayo, ipapardon ko kayo, ipopromote ko kayo, meron pa kayong premyo. These are the things that convinced the ICC to consider and accept the charge against him. Yung hindi siya mismo pumatay, malinaw yan. It's just that siya yung may pakana. It was his program as a president na ganun nga yung kalakalan doon.
Yes.
And you know what happened. You know what happened.
Yeah.
You would know what happened.
Yeah.
So, mas maganda ilinaw natin yun.
Yes.
Para yung, kasi ang pag-iisip ng taong bayan, murder, hindi naman siyang bumaril.
Yes.
So yun. But that's not the charge. It's crimes against humanity through indirect participation niya.
So through indirect participation, so it's like saying, like in the past trials that we've had with different leaders, a simple rhetoric that led to, let's say, genocide or mass killing, that makes you already liable.
Yes, if you were in control.
If you were in control, okay.
When he was mayor, if you were in control of the PNP when you were president, you issued those statements. You designed the campaign. Kasi ang problema kasi ni President ngayon, mismo yung mga malalapit sa kanya, yung babaeng police official,
si Garma.
Yes. Ang sabi siya na pinareplicate niya yung drug war Tokhang sa Davao sa buong Pilipinas. Nagpahanap pa nga ng isang miyembro ng particular sekta para siya ang magdidirect. Kinonfirm din yung iba na merong pabuya, yung bang premyo pag nakapatay yung isang police officer. And internally, I think those policemen who were involved, including those who were not involved, know about this. But unfortunately, during the presidency of President Digong, siyempre takot sila.
Yes.
I don't know now if they will have the balls and the conscience to speak the truth. Because baka yung iba rin dyan, to save their own skin, being lesser evil, they will opt to be state witnesses or prosecution witnesses. Pwede din po kasi yan eh. And that's why I suppose the prosecution also is keen on having others indicted so that they would hope that yung lesser guilty, kumbaga, would decide to tell their story. But meron na silang dalawa eh. Meron na sila Cañas and Matubato, nandun na sila. Ito, mga members ng DDS.
That's right.
Meron na rin mga affidavits at pag-aamin in public dun sa Quadcom ng mga involved. So, these are very relevant and material evidence in this particular case.
Okay. Well, nandito na rin po tayo sa usapin ng paglilinaw ng mga ilang issue sa social media kasi isa rin po sa mga nagiging debate ngayon yung number of victims. Sinasabi po kasi 30,000 estimated ang allegedly victims po ng extrajudicial killings. Ang sinasabi daw po dito, 30,000 kayo pero 43 cases lang were chosen sa ICC. Diba? Maganda po maipaliwanag din po yun sa ating mga mamamayan.
Oh, let's educate na.
I think that's very good. That's very nice of you. Tayo, wala naman tayong kinikilingan. What we're telling is, let the process unfold so that both sides can present evidence and let an impartial court, which is the ICC, decide. Kasi sa tingin ko bilang baka mas free from political influence, corruption, pananakot, o kaibiganan, o kamag-anakan, yung mga judges coming from the 3 different countries, then our local judges. Diba?
Yeah.
Kinatakot na yung ibang judges o fiscals natin o kapulisan. So anyway, so we don't make any prejudgment. But yung sinasabi na 30,000, 6,000 ang namatay, sabi ng PNP, 30,000 sabi ng human rights groups, ng CHR, it doesn't really matter. As a matter of fact, if you look at some of the cases where national leaders or army generals or warlords were convicted of crimes against humanity, 5 lang yung napatay 5 lang yung ginamit. But it shows a pattern. Yun ang importante. Hindi mo naman kinakailangan i-prove mo yung 30,000 o yung inaamin ng pulis na nanlaban na 6,000 o 7,000 lang. Hindi naman kinakailangan. Kasi kung yun ang gagawin mo, patay na lahat ng pwes at mga defendants.
Exactly, hindi pa tapos.
So ang kinakailangan lang ipakita, there is a pattern.
Exactly.
And that's why sineselect lang nila yung mga sigurado. Merong documentation, merong testimonya. So if they can piece together the pattern, kasi meron, we cannot now deny that there was a declared drug war, yung Operation Double Barrel, yung mga one-time, big-time, mga ganyan. Public knowledge na yan, may record na dyan. So just connecting the dots that is necessary.
Thank you po for clearing that out. Pero attorney, back here in the Philippines, medyo may mga ilang katanungan pa rin po ako sa inyo. What do you make of Solgen's recusal po pala, yung kanilang statement yesterday?
Well, that is nice of the Solgen. That is maginoo yun at tapat lang niya siguro sa kanyang sarili. But we have to understand him also. He's in a dilemma. And that's a decent thing to do, mag-recuse. Kasi, remember, during the Duterte administration, he was the Department of Justice Secretary.
Yes.
And di ba, isang rason kung bakit pumasok, nag-assume ng jurisdiction ng ICC is because yung kapulisan natin, yung piskalya, yung mga huwes, the justice system, where he was one of the key leaders or players, was unable or unwilling to seriously seek the truth and prosecute yung mga nagtokhang o nag-EJK. Siyempre, ang posisyon niya noon at ang gobyerno, hindi totoo yan. Kaya namin, wala kayong jurisdiction. Di ba, pinagbigyan pa tayo ng ICC, hinold nila yung investigation for close to 2 years before the election. Wala rin nangyari. Sabihin nyo ba, may nangyari kasi si Kian de los... Si Kian is one among thousands. Di ba? So naintindihan ko din ngayon na, and even the government now, official position nila is ICC no longer has jurisdiction kasi nag-withdraw na tayo. Pero meron tayong residual. So, if sa kanyang tingin, hindi niya kaya, that's the decent thing to do. But ang importante din is, paano naman yung gobyerno, walang abogado? So, he might logically opt to resign. Say, he cannot do his job. So, let somebody else who believes otherwise that he can do the job, defending the actions of government, do the job. Diba? Hindi rin maganda yung mag-recuse ka, pero hindi mo ma-give up. Paano naman yung abogado ng mga respondents ngayon, di ba?
Attorney, last na po very brief na lang din po kasi can Senator Bato really seek protection from the Senate on his possible arrest, ICC arrest?
Well, as the Senate President has said, it's just institutional courtesy. Kung wala namang sa batas o sa konstitusyon na hindi ka pwedeng arrest, at nakalagay lang sa konstitusyon, if the charge is a minor offense, punishment of less than 6 years, while Senate is in session, hindi ka muna arrestuhin. So, ibig sabihin, kung walang session ng ma-arresto ka, regardless of the gravity of the crime. Secondly, if the crime is serious, like crimes against humanity, widespread murder, yan, very serious crime. So, hindi sakop dun sa constitutional prohibition. It's just yung sinasabi niya, institutional courtesy. But I hope that the Senate as an institution, pag there is due process of law, they will not unduly hinder. Siguro bibigyan lang siya ng pagkakataon na tumakbo sa korte, but otherwise, they cannot keep him there protected from the rule of law forever or indefinitely or for too long a time.
Ayun. Okay. Maraming salamat po muli sa inyong oras, former IBP President Attorney Domingo Cayosa. Thank you so much po.
Maraming salamat. Good morning sa lahat.
Well, while talking on that issue, Senate President Chis Escudero assures Senator Bato de la Rosa that he won't be arrested inside the Senate premises should the ICC issue a warrant. Escudero said preventing such an arrest at the Senate building is part of institutional courtesy. De la Rosa earlier said he will seek Senate protection once the ICC goes after him for his role in Duterte's drug war. The re-electionist senator served as the former president's first police chief who implemented the bloody anti-narcotics campaign.
Hindi nakabase sa batas, pero nakabase sa tinatawag na institutional courtesy. Hindi papayagan ng Senadong arestuhin ang sinumang miyembro niya sa loob ng Senado, lalo na kung merong sesyon. Ang pinakamatagal na namalagi dito sa Senado ay si Senator Trillanes, na namalagi dito ng humigit kumulang 25 araw.
Coming up, more names from the Office of the Vice President's list of confidential fund beneficiaries have been flagged as suspicious.
And Transportation Secretary Vince Dizon calls on the management of MRT3 to extend its evening operations.
We'll be back with more stories after the break. Keep it here on One News. Good morning. You're still watching News and Views here on One News.
Senator Robin Padilla hopes the International Criminal Court, or ICC, will allow him to visit former President Rodrigo Duterte, who is detained at the ICC Detention Center. Padilla said he wants to seek Duterte's political guidance for the PDP Laban campaign. Padilla, along with former presidential spokesperson Harry Roque and Vice President Sara Duterte, arrived in The Hague on March 14.
Ang iniisip ko yung kampanya. Usapin ng presence ni Mayor, sapul na sapul kami. Diba yun nga, itatanong ko kay Mayor, paano ngayon yun? Kasi siya ang #1 crowd drawer namin. Pag sinabi mo andyan si Presidente, talagang ang tao dumadating kahit hindi bayad. Yung paano ngayon yan? Wala naman kaming pera.
Before you move on, gusto ko lang masabi, yung mama, si former President Duterte, may hinaharap na napakalaking kaso that's very important sa buhay niya. So to bother him with things like this about winning sa partido, parang don't bother him. Kausapin niyo yung mga strategies niyo kasi kawawa na he's defending himself. He's fighting for his freedom. Diba? So don't ask him things like that. Diba? Pag ikaw kinakasuhan ka ng crimes against humanity, napakalaki nun, syempre gusto mo isipin paano mo ipagtatanggol sarili mo. Tapos tatanggol, paano kami mananalo ng
I think for his part, he's trying to give a reason para makapasok siya. Kasi nakalagay dun sa
well,
rules
that's not
ata.
A good reason.
The rules ata is, aside from family,
political
legal counsel
ally.
and political ally.
Pero parang there was a statement that released that parang that was a different rule. It applies to something else. Not really. Pero ang important is counsel and family.
Yeah.
Those two. ang pwedeng dumalaw. Oo.
Alright, meanwhile, the Office of the Solicitor General has recused itself from participating in the consolidated habeas corpus petitions filed by the Duterte family. The petitions seek to compel the International Criminal Court to release former President Rodrigo Duterte from detention in The Hague, where he faces trial for crimes against humanity. In its 9-page motion, the OSG argued that the country's withdrawal from the Rome Statute in 2019 nullified its obligation to assist in ICC proceedings. It also maintained that the Philippines' legal system is functioning properly, making the case inadmissible.
Meanwhile, the House of Representatives has found more questionable names in the list of confidential fund beneficiaries of the Office of the Vice President. Here's the report.
The list of dubious recipients linked to Vice President Sara Duterte's confidential fund keeps growing. House Deputy Majority Leader Paulo Ortega revealed new names, including 5 dodongs. Meanwhile, Jay Camote and Miggy Mango raised further suspicion due to their unusual names resembling food items.
Si Jay Camote, si Miggy Mango, saka yung Dodong Gang, o di ba? Parami ng parami, pa-creative ng pa-creative. Nung una, nag-umpisa sa pangalan ng mga chips, saka chicheria. Sabi ko nga, chip na nga, ninakaw pa. O di ba? Chips na nga, ninakaw pa nila. So, nakakalungkot na ganito, no? Parang talagang sadyang inaabuso yung sistema.
This add to previously flagged names like Mary Grace Piatos and Xiaomi Ocho, whose identities remain unverified. The Philippine Statistics Authority confirmed that many of these names have no official records. With this, the lower chamber is confident on the evidence for Vice President Sara Duterte's impeachment trial at the Senate.
Budget briefing, ng committee hearings, hindi pa rin mapaliwanag. Paano na lang dun sa impeachment court? So, hindi ko talaga makita kung paano nila ipapaliwanag.
The trial is set to begin in July after President Bongbong Marcos's fourth State of the Nation address.
So back here in the Philippines, marami pa rin kinakaharap si Vice President Sara Duterte.
Impeachment is one. So this just proves, and inamin naman ng Office of the Vice President, that lahat ng pangalan na ginamit for these confidential funds are mga alias. So yung defense ni Bato na sinasabi niya, meron naman talagang piatos sa Davao. Meron naman talaga. Pero yung meron naman talagang piatos, yung sa pangalan, totoong name, it defeats the statement of the OVP saying alias lahat to. Because alias nga yun eh. So we're not talking about real names. And when you verify all of these names, wala naman. So, parang Miggy Mango, di ba? Ano pa yung isa?
So, kaya definitely, if you check it in the Philippine Statistics Authority, wala talaga sila. Kasi nga, ang claim nga is aliases ito. Dahil confidential nga yung...
pero sabi ni Senator Bato, may piatos naman talaga. Hindi nagsasalis yan. Pero who would name naman their son Miggy Mango?
Pero ano nga aliases nga daw. Pero we'll see, no? Kasi hindi nga, well, ever since kasi talagang hindi sinasagot ni ni Vice President Sara Duterte, diba? Because it's confidential.
Oo. Yung argument kasi ni Senator Bato, meron man talaga piatos, hindi alias nga daw. Usually, allowed naman ng alias, pero maglalagay ka ng note na secretly sa nag-audit, sino yung...
di ba may sinabi dito
si Heidi.
No, si Colmenares.
Yeah.
The former Representative Nery Colmenares. There's a specific provision in the law that kailangan mong parang magbigay ng information about
sa auditing. Sinabi rin ni Com Heidi yan kailangan you put the real, kunyari, Miggy Mango. Sino ba si Miggy Mango? Parang ilalagay mo confidentially para pag na-audit.
Para sa ibang lang, parang hindi sa lahat, pero parang may certain log.
There's a separate logbook that you give to the auditors.
So as I've said kanina, back here in the Philippines, ito pa yung mga iba pang issue na kinakaharap ng mga Duterte. This one particularly ni Vice President Sara Duterte. That's why sinasabi nga daw, based on sa mga reports na nakita natin, sinasabihan nga daw si Vice President Sara Duterte ni President Digong, ni former President Rodrigo Duterte na bumalik ka na sa Pilipinas, dapat doon ka sa Pilipinas, nagsisilbi, ganyan-ganyan. Ayaw naman daw siya iwan ni VP Sara doon hanggat walang papalit. I'm not sure, hindi ko pa alam yung update dito, pero kasi on the way dyan si diba, si noon pa na ilang araw pa si Congressman Pulong Duterte. So
Japan,
hindi ko pa alam
Japan,
kung
baka nauna yung Japan,
kung
Japan
nandito
Netherlands
na siya or kung nandun na siya, nakarating na ba siya, diba?
Kasi yung application niya is Netherlands and Japan. So hindi naman alam in which order
Oo.
So.
Then I remember there was also a interview of Vice President Sara Duterte. Bakit tinanong siya, bakit yung mga visa, maraming mga lugar, 'di ba? May Japan, may iba pa daw na nakalagay.
Shenzhen yun
Oo. Tapos sabi niya kasi hindi namin alam kung saan dadalhin at that time. 'Di ba si Pangulong Rodrigo Duterte, kaya might as well lalo na siya meron siya kasi talagang existing Shenzhen visa dahil she watched the concert of Taylor Swift with her family last year, 'di ba, sa Germany, sa Munich.
Okay, don't go away because we're not done yet. Stay with us. Welcome back. You're still watching News and Views here on the One News.
Transportation Secretary Vince Dizon personally conducted an inspection of the MRT-3 on Monday. He boarded the train at the height of rush hour. Dizon also checked station facilities and spoke with passengers to gather insights on how to improve train services. At Ayala Station, he observed that commuters walking from the MRT to the bus terminal had no roofed walkway.
Walang takip, walang walkway, walang covered walkway. So siguro makikiusap ako sa Ayala in the coming days. Baka pwedeng gawa ng madaling solusyon ngayon.
He also took note of long queues at Taft Avenue Station for ticket purchases and baggage screening at security checkpoints.
Siyempre security yan, hindi naman natin pwedeng i-compromise yun. Baka pwedeng makahanap tayo ng ibang way na hindi na kailangan yung x-ray para bumilis.
Additionally, he pointed out poor lighting in several MRT stations and spotted a recently broken escalator. Dizon is now considering replacing the MRT's management.
Meron akong rinirekomenda na papalit. Kailangan dito mabilis kasi hindi natin pwedeng magiitin yung isang escalator na nasisira kasi ang laking tulong dun sa mga kababayan natin.
If passengers were to be asked, they have more concerns that they hope will be addressed.
Concern ko lang po sana yung mga kalinisan.
Mga ilang araw na ako yung beep card.
Walang beep card.
Wala daw sila available. Siguro yung interval niya is mga 5 minutes or gano'n. Parang sunod-sunod siya gano'n.
This is not Dizon's first hands-on inspection. Last February, shortly after taking office, he personally assessed the EDSA busway. However, commuter groups have mixed reactions to this. According to the group Para Advocates for Inclusive Transport, government officials have taken MRT rides in previous administrations. They argue that passengers would benefit more if train operations were not privatized and if the LRT1 fare hike were scrapped. For the group The Passenger Forum, officials engaging with commuters should be standard practice. But more importantly, these inspections should result in real reforms that make commuting easier. Meanwhile, the DOTR said that by this week, they aim to extend MRT-3 operating hours by 1 hour in the evening and add extra trains during peak hours. For News 5, Gerard de la Peña, we are One News.
All right, in other news, the Bureau of Immigration said some illegal aliens in the country managed to delay their deportation by filing fraudulent legal cases. According to BI spokesperson Dana Sandoval, some foreign detainees collude with accomplices to file fabricated cases against themselves, forcing Philippine courts to prioritize their hearings. This practice not only prolongs their stay, but also burdens the judicial system and strains government resources. BI's detention facility currently houses nearly 900 foreign detainees. To address the issue, the agency is urging lawmakers to strengthen deportation laws and impose penalties on individuals, including lawyers, who assist in filing fraudulent cases to delay deportation.
Ang iniiwasan po natin ay magkaroon ng butas o magkaroon po ng oportunidad itong pugante na ito na tumakas. At the same time, yung madrag on yung mga local cases dito sa Pilipinas na ginagamit po nila para hindi nila harapin yung kaso po nila doon sa bansang kanilang pinanggalingan.
If you remember, this stems from that case, yung Korean.
Nalaman nila may
interviewed her, yung pala,
yung scam
may case siya,
operation.
tapos tumakas yung pala, nag-file ng case sa sarili niya, yung I think estafa or something like that. para hindi siya ma-deport.
Yes,
so yung pala talamak na practice ito.
You remember, di ba, tinatanong natin, bakit ang tagal? Kasi may mga papeles, tapos minsan, kapag may cases, hindi pa kaagad yun na...
Oo. Madi-deport, madi-delay. So they're buying time for them to stay here.
And then yun nga, yung point ni Senator Raffy Tulfo, kapag tumatagal dito, baka magkaroon na ng corruption dyan. Baka mamaya bayaran na kung sino, whoever.
Gives them time na igapang yung deportation para di na matuloy.
Alright, in other news, the government has launched various anti-rabies programs to mitigate the spread of the deadly virus. Para bigyan ng mukha ang balita, Mobile Journal, Ivan Tarinque.
Nakakamatay ang rabies, pero kaya naman itong maiwasan. At yan ang target ng lokal na pamahalaan ngayong Rabies Awareness Month.
Pagpasok ng Marso, busy na sa house-to-house ang Veterinary Department ng Quezon City Local Government. Bahagi ito ng anti-rabies vaccination drive. Sa datos kasi ng Department of Health, 426 ang namatay dahil sa rabies sa Pilipinas nitong 2024. Halos kalahati sa mga kasong ito ay dahil sa kagat ng kanilang sariling alaga. Sa 3 buwan pa lang ngayong 2025, may naitala ng 6 na kaso ng rabies sa Quezon City. Hindi hamak na mas konti sa 22 kaso noong nakaraang taon. Kaya pinaigting ang rabies awareness. Dumarami raw kasi ang mga nakakagat ng aso, lalo kapag summer kung kailan nagbabakasyon ang mga bata. At sa oras na makagat o makalmot ng aso o pusa, dapat agad linisin ang sugat. Magpunta rin agad sa Animal Bite Center para sa tamang medikal na lunas.
Kapag nakagat po, please seek immediate medical attention. Pumunta po kaagad sa ating bite centers. Hanggat may bakuna po, hindi natin tinataboy ang ating mga bite victims.
Bukod sa vaccination drive, mayroon ding rabies awareness talk, libreng kapon, microchipping, at pet education para sa mga fur parents. Lahat ng ito ay bahagi ng programa ng Quezon City Veterinary Office upang palakasin ang responsabling pag-aalaga ng hayop at matupad ang layuning Rabies-Free Philippines ng 2030.
Pag meron po tayong nakaschedule na bakuna, make it a priority. Huwag tayong isa-set aside, babalik naman sila.
Hindi dapat ipagpabukas ang pagkuha ng medikal na tulong kontra rabies. Dahil kapag napabayaan, buhay ang nakataya. Mobile Journal, Ivan Tarinque po, hatid ang mukha ng balita.
Ayan. Well, before we go, I'd like to leave everyone with a quote among all this political noise and issues coming back and forth, toxicity in social media. And the quote goes, "Genuine tolerance does not mean ignoring differences, as if differences made no difference. Genuine tolerance means engaging differences within a bond of civility and respect." A quote from Richard John Newhouse. And that wraps up today's episode of News and Views.
Join us again tomorrow. I'm Angela Lagunsad Castro.
I'm definitely Angelo Castro III. We are One News.
All sides, all the time.